Hi. Let's now look at assessment criteria 2.1. Let's now look at assessment criteria 2.1. So far we have completed the first chapter, which had 3 assessment criteria. And now we are getting into a deeper discussion on responsible marketing. So we start off chapter 2 with a discussion on the purpose of marketing in a responsible business context. The purpose of marketing in a responsible business context. And here's the indicative content. One of the key theories you're going to learn is the triple bottom line. 3 pillars of sustainability: profit, people, and planet. We call that the 3 Ps of CSR, or the 3 Ps of sustainability, the 3 Ps: profit, people, and planet. So in terms of the other areas, we're going to look at how building consumer trust as an organization is imperative in a responsible business context. We're going to discuss the definition of corporate social responsibility, look at some examples, and then finally, we'll be looking at how a company can build and protect its corporate brand reputation and instill organizational values that will support responsible marketing. So I want to first talk to you about some of the criticisms of marketing. Today we advocate marketing and we say marketing is a good thing. Marketing is very important for every single organization, but there are some criticisms in marketing. Marketers are guilty of certain sins. Sometimes we charge high prices, especially when we have a good brand. We overcharge. We overcharge customers. Now, that is not a very good thing. Deceptive practices, high pressure selling, shoddy, harmful, and unsafe products. I mean, if you really look at Coca-Cola, which is one of the top 10 brands in the world, is probably one of the most unhealthy drinks that you can put into your body. Right? It's basically sugar and water. Right? Sugar and water. So there is a lot of sugar in it. There's caffeine in it. And there's, gas in it. But the sugar content is so high that it is very unhealthy. But it is still one of the top brands in the world. Same with McDonald's. So, one of the biggest problems with marketing is all these issues that come along with the benefit of marketing. There are some social criticisms of marketing: planned obsolescence, poor service to disadvantaged customers. Sometimes marketers are guilty of creating false wants, cultural pollution, eye pollution. With your ads, with your billboards, sometimes you can't relax and watch TV. There's so much of ads. And all these ads are trying to, from a marketing standpoint, trying to sell more. I mean, I'd like to see ads that are genuine, like the Patagonia ads that we spoke of. Do not buy this jacket unless you really need it. I'd like to see marketers really coming out today and, really being responsible for their actions. It is nice for an organization even if it's a bank, if it's a credit card company, or it's a telco, that come out and genuinely tell customers how to reduce their data cost. A bank should come out and tell its credit card customers how you can pay lower interest and settle your bills on time rather than paying high interest and revolving your credit line every month. So it's nice to see a company coming out there and talking to you and telling you genuinely, here's how you can reduce your expenditure. And I'm sure customers are going to appreciate that. And this concept of consumerism is an important concept. Consumers getting together. Now, we had the Aragalaya in Sri Lanka. That is not consumers, those are voters. But if a situation arises where all the consumers get together, right? This happened back in the day. This happened back in the day, and the consumerist, one of the earliest consumerist movements was formed when Coca-Cola changed its recipe. Coke changed its recipe. And there was a consumerist movement, that organized movement, that walked the streets in Atlanta and in the States, demanding that Coke go back into their original recipe, demanding that Coca-Cola is a part of the American fabric, the American culture, that they cannot change the recipe because it is ingrained in the US culture. And there were consumers who spent their own money and lobbied and walked the streets and pressured Coca-Cola company to go back to its original recipe. It's a true story. That is consumerism, where consumers get together for a cause. Consumerism is defined as an organized movement of citizens and government agencies to improve the rights and power of buyers in relation to sellers. Traditionally, sellers' rights include, right, there are sellers' rights and there are buyers' rights. The right to introduce any product, the right to charge price, the right to spend amount to promote the product. Unless the price and the promotion are regulated, then you can't. The right to use any product message, the right to use buying incentive programs. So these are some of the rights of the sellers. But how about the buyers? The buyers' rights, consumers, the right not to buy a product, the right to expect the product to be safe, the right to expect the product to perform as claimed. So consumerism is an organized movement, And consumerist movements are very, very strong. And then we look at some of the benefits of CSR, corporate social responsibility. The benefits of CSR. Actually, we can add to this list, but there are so many reasons as to why CSR will work. And you should embrace CSR as a concept. Obviously, some of them are to increase employee engagement, to improve customer loyalty, better financial gains, bottom line performance, more support. You can garner more support from local and global communities, increased investment opportunities. Today, there are even sustainability investment funds who are funds globally who fund sustainable products and sustainability projects. Press opportunities, brand awareness, PR, increased customer retention, strong employer brand. You will attract good employees if you have a strong reputation with CSR, and you can profile the company's reputation. You can use it as a strong leverage of competitive advantage. It's a strong point of differentiation. And sometimes that can be the only point of differentiation that you have, and the ability to charge a premium price. So you can see companies in Sri Lanka like Dilma, like MAS, Brandix, who really thrive on this concept of sustainability and CSR, good governance, corporate governance, ethics, and all of them practice the triple bottom line. So the triple bottom line, as I discussed before, is to look at the three P's: profit, people, and planet. Now, the first step is to ensure that the company runs at a profit. So managers must make sure that you do all these things to ensure the company runs at a profit. You need to manage your innovation. You need to ensure that you manage your capital well, capital efficiency. Then risk management, improving margins, productivity, right? Now, whilst all this is done, this will ensure you generate an economic return, an economic return, an economic profit. Without that, you can't expect to look at the other two P's. The first step is to generate an economic profit, right? It is next that you start looking at society, which is people, and embrace some causes, and looking at the planet, which is the third P, and embrace some causes. So there are so many things you can do, from diversity, human rights, community outreach, labor relations. This list will continue. There are so many things you can do with regards to embracing social causes. And then you have environmental causes, planet. So the theory by Kinton encourages a company not only to think about bottom line rupees and cents profits, also to achieve social profits and environmental profits, to have bottom line profitability, not only in rupees and cents, but with the goodwill that you undertake. Of course, that will also translate to a good brand and at the end of the day, help with more profitability. But the focus here is to have some causes that you support, certain initiatives that you undertake with regards to your environment and your social or the societal objectives. So here's another example with more initiatives. So when you list a company's triple bottom line initiatives, it can look something like this. What are the causes, planet or environmental causes you embrace? You don't need to have so many, because you need to assign budgets for this, manpower, initiatives, KPIs, timelines must be attached to all these. Then you have social activities and initiatives that you can undertake. So the triple bottom line is a very important concept. Please watch all the videos I have included under this assessment criteria. Now, another important area is building consumer trust as an organization. This word trust is very important. If you do have a lot of trust attached to your brand, obviously you're going to have customers who won't hesitate to buy your products and services. Building trust with customers require that your knowledge and respect, your knowledge, that requires that your knowledge, acknowledge and respect their needs. You acknowledge and respect their needs at every stage of the relationship, from first contact through to the lifetime of a customer. And here are some ways to build trust. These are what you see here, the most trustworthy brands in the States, the trustworthy brands, ranked as the most trustworthy brands globally, right? And you can see Band-Aid is United States. Toyota is a trustworthy brand globally from Japan. Google is a trustworthy brand. And then you have other brands like Alipay, Boots, which is a United Kingdom, from United Kingdom, WhatsApp, PayPal, and Samsung. You can Google this, okay? The most trustworthy brands in the world, rated the most trustworthy brands in the world. And here are some of the ways you can build that trust. You can obviously give good service, provide reviews and testimonials, be transparent, giving feedback. You can create some kind of coalition loyalty program, right? So many things you can undertake: cultivating your relationships, owning a problem when there's a complaint. So these are all things that you can do to build trust. And building trust is at the heart of being a responsible organization. Building trust. Because when you're trustworthy, you have to be ethical, you have to be legal. And when you're trustworthy, that means the consumer don't mind paying a premium price to buy your product and services. But trust is something that you can't buy with money. Ethics and trust is earned over a period of time. You cannot buy them with money. So trust is something that you earn. You cannot buy it with money. And the definition of corporate social responsibility, as you see in the picture here, right? These kids are given the access of water, clean water, which is a dire need in our country. Dire need in our country. Sanitation, clean water, these are basic human needs today. And companies can come forward to help and embrace these causes. I remember Cambridge College also is part of this program. We built a school back in 2020, and we raised some money again to support the school in 2023. And, most of our students got involved in building that school. It's in Kandegama. You can see the school on our website. It's a small school with about 50 kids in a very rural area. And a lot of students participated in that. And we went for the opening, and today the school is running very well. So we are blessed to have been part of that. And it's a nice feeling. You give back to society. And I think all companies should engage their staff, engage their customers, and embrace our social responsibility. It is not just something that you do to just get publicity. It should be done genuinely. It should be done genuinely. Ideally, the unwritten rule of thumb is to look at 1% of your net profits. I mean, it's an unwritten rule. 1% of your net profits. Give it back. Give it back. It doesn't belong to you. Give it back. Do something to the planet. Do something socially responsible. And here's the definition. It is defined as a business model in which companies integrate social, environmental concerns in their business operations and interactions with their stakeholders, instead of only considering economic bottom line profits. And then when you talk about this word reputation is also something that you earn. Reputation and trust are things that you earn. You can't buy it for money. And here's one good brand that has built that over a period of time. We all know her story. I have put a video on her story on how she started selling clothes from a car boot, from a boot in a car, to how she built the brand Odell, and then retired, and now following her passion with Embark. So you can watch that beautiful video. So brand reputation is the overall perception that the public has of a company or a brand. It is shaped by a variety of factors, including the company's products or services, customer services, marketing, and social media presence. And what a wonderful thing for you to build a brand and then focus on your passion. All of us have this dire need and the passion. So we can build companies, we can build businesses, but sometimes your purpose goes beyond making money. There are philanthropic purposes. Why are you here on this planet? Every one of us must ask that question. Why am I here on this planet? Is it only to make money? Of course, you have to make money. Of course, you have to make money, but there comes a point where money alone cannot solve all problems. Money can't be the sole reason for happiness. And there are other reasons to give back to society. And you can see how companies, even like Starbucks, look at their values. Look at the Starbucks values, right? They don't only have values like so much of sales, innovation. No, if you look at their values, they talk about craft, right, which is a part of their job. Okay, business is important, so you must be results oriented, courage, leadership, but then see how they bring about two other values that talk about a sense of belonging. Sense of belonging. We actively listen and connect with warmth and transparency. We recognize and appreciate every person for who they are. We treat each other with dignity and care. Look at their values. Joy. We take pride in our work and have fun whilst doing it. We celebrate each other and our wins. We create great vibes to bring the best out of others. So these are the values of Starbucks. So you can see there are some which are business focused and some that are more to do with life and how you will respect each other and embrace diversity, embrace the sense of belonging and joy. And that leads us to the corporate social responsibility pyramid or the CSR pyramid. Now, this pyramid is very, very similar to the triple bottom line, but it has 4 steps. So Carol has said, first, we have economic profitability. All managers have the responsibility to first make sure the company is running at a profit. Be profitable. That's your economic responsibility towards the shareholders. If you don't do this first, you can't achieve anything else. And you must make a profit within the legal framework. Obey the law. Constantly ask yourself, are you obeying the law? Because if you don't obey the law and make a profit, there's no point making a profit. And the third step here is, even as you do this both very well, how can you learn how to be an ethical organization? What is your ethical responsibility? What is your ethical responsibility? And finally, the pinnacle of it all is, now that you are doing really, really well, you are the market leader. You're doing so much of billions in turnover. You're so huge. Look at Bill Gates. Look at Warren Buffett. Look at how they look at the world in terms of philanthropy, right? Be a good corporate citizen. It's not only about making money. You can make all the money in the world, but you can die like Steve Jobs at 52 years or 55 years. What's the point, right? You have read, if you have not, read Steve Jobs' last letter to his staff. When he knew he was dying from cancer, he wrote a letter to his staff. He wrote a letter to his staff. Google it and read it. Because he says, no matter how much I innovate, at the end of it, now that I'm staring at death, what really matters is what you do for other people. It's not running great companies and innovating great products. It is what you do and how you help other people. So you can see even the great leaders have finally realized that it's not, everything is not about money. There is a philanthropic responsibility, ethical responsibility, legal responsibility, and then an economic responsibility a company have towards its stakeholders and shareholders. So I have given you a note on this. You can read through the examples. Then we understand what a regenerative economy is. So you see, a regenerative means, right? A regenerative business is a business that gives back far more to society and the planet than it takes, right? Now, we can call this also a circular economy. Circular economy. So you need to ask yourself all these factors here in terms of regenerating. You need to seek a balance, right? You need to honor and you need to also circulation, robust circulation. And you need to also make sure you're innovative, but let's say if you are a car manufacturer, if you're Toyota, or if you're Ford, or if you're Volkswagen, some of the top car manufacturers in the world. One of the biggest problems in the car industry is the end of life cycle. You can keep manufacturing hundreds and thousands of cars, but at the end of the day, you also need to destroy cars every year that have reached the end of their life cycle. Now, in Sri Lanka, of course, you will use cars even in from 50 years ago, you'll keep using cars. But in the West, you can't do that. After a certain age, say 15 years, 20 years, you need to take it. If you are the owner of the car, let's say if it's a 20-year-old car or 25-year-old car, you have to take it to a place that destroys the car, crush the car. They will crush the car for you. And there's a cost. They will crush the car. So if you are owning an old car, then it's a liability because you have to pay money for them to crush the car. So a regenerative economy is a philosophy that you'll give back more to society than what you're taking from the society. Because imagine all the raw materials that go into building a car. How much of water goes into building a car? How much of other material goes into building a car? And then what are you giving back in terms of, it can be the carbon footprint that you consume. Are you at least planting X amount of trees? You're taking a lot of water from the planet. What are you doing, right? Giving back to the planet. Now, that is called a regenerative economy. Regenerate, circularity. So you can see even in the apparel industry that is very present. You have to think about your carbon footprint. Even in a bank, in a service, you can calculate your carbon footprint and understand how much of paper you use, right? How much of air conditioning, how much of other areas you use in your bank. And then you can calculate that with some external carbon calculating companies. And then you need to make sure you grow trees or you do something to regenerate what you destroy in running your business. Now that is called a circular economy or a regenerative economy, right? So you can see it in this example very clearly. A circular economy is a model of production and consumption which involves sharing, leasing, reusing, repairing, refurbishing, and recycling existing materials and products as long as possible. In this way, the life cycle of products will be extended. So we have a very short life on this earth. We have to make sure we manage the earth for our future generations. So a circular economy looks at how you input raw materials, look at sustainable design, so you don't waste a lot of resources. You can use technology here, 3D printing, softwares. Then you manufacture, you distribute, you consume, reuse, repair. You just don't throw it. You see how you can put to best the product that you have now manufactured. Then at the end of the life cycle, you need to collect it. You need to have a mechanism to collect it. That's how plastic bottles, glass bottles, waste paper, clothes, how do you sort them? And then you have waste management, residual waste, and how do you manage waste? So managing waste is you recycle. But after you recycle, also there is some waste, then you need to discard them. But how do you dispose them, right? And again, you go back to the planet and seek raw materials. So this is a circular economy. So you need to think about your circularity of all the inputs and outputs in your manufacturing process. And it's quite shocking. I have included a video here on the Paris Climate Agreement, guys. The Paris Climate Agreement. And in 2015, all world leaders pledged to try and prevent global temperatures rising for more than 1.5 Celsius. And it saw almost all the world nations for the first time agreed to cut the greenhouse gas emissions, which cause global warming. And you can see here the Paris Climate Agreement, the UN Paris Climate Agreement. And these guys started in 2015, and they have been having some challenges with the US after Trump came. They pulled out of this agreement, right? And then when Trump went off, they went back into the Paris Climate Agreement. So there's some political drama here, but they have a target. They have a target, right? By 2100, they want their temperatures rising, global temperatures rising, to be more than right 1.5 Celsius. So right now you can see the current policy is 2.5 to 2.9. Everyone has pledged to reduce this so much, but they still need to reduce it further. Still need to reduce it further. So what they do is, then this is the past trend. If you don't reverse this, this will only go up like this. So now it is like this. They have pledged to reduce it like this, but what we need to do is reduce it like this. So this is called the Paris Climate Agreement. Please watch the video. And finally, I want to encourage you to visit this website. Can all of you visit this website? It's called the Carbon Literacy Project, which is a very popular institution in the UK. The Carbon Literacy Project was started off as an idea, right, to create awareness of the carbon costs and impacts of everyday activities, and the ability and motivation to reduce emissions on an individual, community, and organizational basis. Today, over 111,000 individuals from 7,900 organizations are carbon literate and carbon qualified. So this institution actually gives you a certificate that you are now trained to understand and measure and competently talk about the carbon footprint of your organization. Because everyone talks about carbon footprint, right? But they don't know how to measure it. In fact, I have also registered in this. So you can follow their courses and they will certify you, right, as an organization. So it's called the Carbon Literacy Project. Okay, a very, very important exercise. Please visit this website. So with that, we finish assessment criteria 2.1. I will see you in 2.2.